everybody, and welcome to Nerdy for 30, the podcast where we talk about nerdy-ish movies for 30-ish minutes. My name is Kevin Bauer, aka the Critic's Choice. With me, as always, is my co-host, the People's Champ, Tim Keck. And today we are talking about the movie Air. If you're tuning in to hear us talk about Renfield, I'm sorry we haven't seen it. And after the reviews this past weekend, it's probably going to be a minute. We're probably going to wait for this one to hit streaming. But Tim, we're not talking about Renfield. We're talking about Air. Do you remember when we went to see this? What do you remember about this movie?
Oh boy, I remember it wasn't Renfield. We're both getting over some illnesses. Cold got us down. I apologize for the stuffiness in advance. That's the reason we didn't go to Renfield. Didn't want to be hacking and huffing and snorting snot all over the people who were just there trying to watch Nick Cage be a vampire. But we did go see Air purely for pleasure. I think that wasn't a pod. That wasn't a pod movie. That was like, we wanted to see this thing. And I enjoyed it. It was as good as I thought it was going to be. It was solid, man. I feel like it wants to be Moneyball. I don't know if you're familiar with Moneyball.
Yeah.
Which is like one of my favorite, most rewatchable movies ever. And I'm curious, once this is on streaming, if this is just going to be played by me like once a year or whatever, how often I play Moneyball. I feel like there's a handful of movies that just get put on when I scroll past them, and Moneyball's one of them. And I wonder if this is going to be in the rotation because it just fits that perfect. Like, there are emotional parts, like in a sports movie. I feel like, I was really swept up in parts of it. And then also the rest of it seems like kind of like easy viewing. Right? Like you can have it on and like walk out of the room, come back in and be like, this is the part. I feel like this movie is going to be so rewatchable, Kevin. Am I wrong?
I think it does have this extremely high degree of watchability. And what's weird is that I think that might be all that it has. I don't
Yeah.
think that this movie has the level of depth that it thinks it has or that it wants to have. Because we get these monologues from Matt Damon that seem like the kind of thing that should bring you to your feet in the theater with a standing ovation. And it felt effective, but I kept hearing in the back of my brain, this is just a Nike ad. This entire movie is a 2-hour long Nike ad, and it's a very good ad. But the whole time, it's really difficult to buy in on these stakes when the premise is, are they going to be able to create the very popular shoe that is the reason that we're in this theater right now? We know that they do. We know that Nike wins this. So it's really difficult to feel tension in this movie. And then when Matt Damon delivers this huge monologue about the meaning of Michael Jordan, it's like, this is just in the context of you trying to sell me a shoe.
Yeah, I have to admit, I think we looked at this from two different angles. You were looking at it for the shoe. I was looking at it for the basketball. I really resonated with the Michael Jordan stuff, and I liked them talking about Michael Jordan and talking to his mom, and I like the sports story angle of it. And when Matt Damon delivers the monologue about how great Michael Jordan's going to be, I got a little caught up in it. I was a little emotional. I was like, yes, this is what sports can be at its very best. Is this like emotional? And they're showing just like clips of Michael Jordan just scoring all the highlights, all the clips we've seen a million times of Michael Jordan dunking, and they're talking about greatness and what greatness means. Like, this is a real life warrior. This guy's a superhero, for real life. He's done the impossible. He's the greatest of all time. And I got caught up in it, and I liked it, and I was digging it, and I wasn't thinking about the shoes at all. I didn't really care about the shoes too much, honestly. They were talking about the style and let's make them red. We'll pay the fine. That's cool. I really just like the sports stuff, and the shoe part of it, I couldn't care less about. And I think this is the first time you mentioning that this was a Nike ad. Like, the thought of Nike didn't even really cross my mind like this whole time. I don't know why, man. I'm probably wrong in that. I'm probably wrong. I was just thinking, oh, it's all about Michael Jordan. It's about they're trying to sell Michael Jordan a shoe, but I guess I didn't even think about this as an ad for Nike. Yeah, I guess it is. It totally is.
They're so good. They're so good at it.
What I did think is it's an ad for Michael Jordan, which is something that I've personally got a little bit of a bone to pick now, because all these people come out with, Taylor Swift comes out with a documentary and everyone's like, wow, look at how raw and honest Taylor Swift is. And it's like, yeah, look at how raw and honest this celebrity who knew a camera was filming was with us. Wow, a camera crew was there to film her documentary that's going to make a bunch of money and millions of people are going to see. Someone who's very aware of their brand and probably calculates every little thing. Wow, how raw and honest she was. And I'm just like, not to attack Taylor Swift, whatever, she's great. But anytime somebody releases this thing that is like, this is raw, this is who I am, this is like this, like it's bullshit. It's propaganda. At least on some level, it is their own propaganda. They got final say on this. And I have to wonder, I know this is not the conversation we're going to be able to get into, Kevin. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot for this, but
Oh boy.
is I'm thinking to myself, is Michael Jordan's basketball greatness a product of propaganda at this point? Like, what would we like? No athlete will ever be able to be as big to basketball as Michael Jordan was. It's just impossible. But why is that? It's because of the shoe. It's because of movies like this. It's because of Space Jam. Like all of these things around, like the fictional, like the world around Michael Jordan is bigger than the man could ever be. Like right now, he's a terrible owner for one of the worst franchises in the NBA. We don't think about that,
Mhm.
Bird and Magic were out of the league by the time Michael Jordan started really going after it. We don't talk about that. There's all these things. He took like a year off to play baseball. I don't know. We don't talk about any of this stuff. He's the GOAT. He's the greatest. He is. But it's just this is I thought this was pure propaganda for Michael Jordan, and I salute him for it because I got emotional and caught up with it. But also at the same time, I'm like, you know, is he all that? Is he all that?
I think the big difference between Michael Jordan and LeBron James
Mm,
is that LeBron James is still a current figure in media. He's still a what do you call it? Like he's still a public figure.
he's active.
Whereas, yeah, he's still playing in the NBA. Regular season, you turn on the TV, you've got like a I don't know, 1 in 3 chance that he's going to be playing basketball that night. Like you can see a lot of LeBron James. He's doing a lot of these things that we associate with Michael Jordan in the 90s right now in real time. He had his Space Jam movie. Uh, the
Ugh,
advantage that Michael
to
Jordan
the
has in
detriment
this
of all.
situation, to the detriment of all, but the advantage Michael Jordan has in that situation is that we were children when Space Jam came out. And was the original Space Jam more fun than the sequel? No question. Way better movie. Way fewer alternative motives. Not no ulterior motives, but fewer of them. So LeBron can only lose because he's playing against someone that is cut and dry and in the books. We have his records. We know every game that Michael Jordan played. We know every single move that he made when he was in the public eye. LeBron has to live up to that. He's challenging nostalgia. You're never going to win that. Um,
Yeah,
it's kind of foolish whenever people try to compare the two because it's completely, completely different. The situations are complete. The way the NBA operates now is different from how it was in the 90s. It's apples and oranges. So,
social media, all of that.
oh my God,
You
all
know,
that shit. And you look at some like The Shop is a great show. Like Michael Jordan never had a version of The Shop.
it
The
is.
Shop can be fucking ridiculous, but it also has that super high degree of watchability. When it comes to things that LeBron produces that he himself is in, I think The Shop is in the higher tier of it. Um, I do think it's extremely funny the clips and stuff that have come out lately where it'll be LeBron trying to act like he knows something that he doesn't know on The Shop
Yeah,
and getting busted for it. Those are very good, but it's still a great show, and I still really enjoy watching it, and I think we recognize more of the commercial stuff with LeBron because we're seeing it happen in real time, and maybe that is a fault of LeBron's team, is that they're trying to market him so hard while he's already here in the public eye, where it seems like a lot of the Jordan hype has been after. I also don't know how much of the Jordan hype was intentional at the time versus how much of it now is tied into the fact that Air Jordans are still a brand. Do you think that the Jordan hype machine is mostly to drive sneaker sales, or do you think it is mostly to promote Jordan as a person? It's got to be the sneakers, right? How else would this guy be benefiting from this?
I think it's good for everybody. I'm also saying the hype machine. He's I mean, if he's not the best player of all time, he's top five, Like, I'm not going to argue. I don't want anybody listening to this to be like, oh my God, you're saying Michael Jordan sucks. I'm saying, I don't know. I don't have the best grasp on the history of basketball. Was Wilt Chamberlain more impactful than Michael Jordan? I don't know. Maybe that's for, more of a sports show to analyze. But I will say the league likes having this guy. They like hockey is Wayne Gretzky. Like everybody likes having this icon, this ideal to hold up, to compare people to, this legend to chase. I mean, it motivates players. It gets the league out there. It helps the shoe brand. It's obviously made Jordan a ton of money. Like I think everybody benefits from this mythology, right? It's what mankind has always done, is created myths and mythology to chase and answer the questions that we don't actually have. And so the NBA is doing that with Jordan, right? They built this myth, this like monolith, these gods up on a hill who are unattainable, untouchable, and every athlete's pursuing it. I mean, that's part of the monologue Matt Damon's giving is like about greatness and what greatness means. And it's like, yeah, this guy isn't solving World War III. He's not
Yeah, man.
he's not feeding the hungry. He was very apolitical, I believe. I'm pretty sure he said the line, Republicans buy sneakers too. Uh he is like, and LeBron has to like the burden on LeBron and modern NBA players is so much greater than it was on Jordan at the time. They do the Last Dance documentary, which was great. A lot of fun. It's like what, 7 or 8 episodes of all this behind the scene footage of Jordan. The whole time I'm thinking, we see this footage of modern NBA players all the time on the daily. You open Instagram, TikTok, you're getting the Last Dance for LeBron James every single night, right? Everything he does, they go to Cabo and they ride a banana boat together. You know about it, right? Michael Jordan was doing all this sketchy shit, and this is like the first time we're seeing this footage of him gambling with the guys there, and like the dude like throwing dice and stuff in the back. Like Jordan, kind of piggybacking off the Mario thing we had last week, right? These were like blank, like Mario is like a blank template that you can insert yourself in. He's like a surrogate for you. And I think to some extent that's Jordan. We watched him play. We saw Space Jam. We heard things about him in the media, but we didn't know him the way we know modern basketball players. And now they're able to come by with this brush and just add this layer of Air Jordan. He was the greatest. This guy knew he was going to be the greatest. Everybody knew this was going to be right. He's the best. He's undefeated in the playoffs. All this stuff. He's got the rings. He would win. He would have won 20 championships if he wanted to. Like, they're putting so much on him. It's really interesting, and I get caught up in it, and I'm excited talking about it. I'm talking about what bullshit it is, and also getting pumped about it. I mean, God, there's nothing like sports, Kevin, and it's all bullshit. It's just millionaires fucking around. But by God, I love it. I mean, the Heat won last night. They beat the Bucks. Jimmy Butler dropped 56, and I was on my feet in my apartment screaming at the TV. I mean, it was the most exciting thing I've ever seen. I'm still coming down from that high, and that was 24 hours ago. I love basketball. I love sports, and by golly, I love hearing people talk about it.
I mean, do you feel at all conflicted about the fact that Giannis is injured? Or are you
Oh,
just
fuck
kind of going to
Giannis.
be like, no, the Heat would have done it anyway?
Oh, he's injured. He's injured. Well, then maybe don't show up, Giannis. Maybe just give up. Just walk away. Sorry, it's basketball. All right. Dude's paid like $100 million a year. The least he could do is like, walk out on the court. I don't know. He's probably hurt. And I wish him well. He seems like a really nice guy in person. But when he's playing my team, fuck you, get out of here. I'll get you back to Greece or wherever you want to go. I'll buy the plane ticket. Get out of town. Take a break. Get on vacation early, Giannis. That back hurts. You might as well end the season early, wrap it up, go on vacation, get your rest, and wait it out for next season.
Do
By the
you
time
at
this
all?
comes out, they're going to play another game, and they're probably going to be destroyed by Yana. I mean, there's a very good chance they're just blown out tomorrow when we're recording this on a Tuesday,
Mm.
25th. So there's a good chance that we've gotten fucked over by this point. But you know what? I refuse to lose. Go Heat. Jimmy Buckets, Himmy. He is him. God, the
Oh my
greatest
god.
playoff basketball player of all time, Jimmy Buckets.
Wow, dude. By the time this podcast comes out, Cleveland is either going to be working their way back from another 3-1 deficit or just, pulling yet another Ohio. Um this is, by the way, you mentioned maybe that's for a sports podcast. We're there, baby. It's Sporty for 40. We're in it right now.
Sporty for 40. That's really good.
Backdoor pilot. Do you
That's so
feel
funny.
conflicted at all
Yeah.
about that monologue? You mentioned it's not like this guy's solving World War III. That monologue at the end that Matt Damon has feels like it was reserved for someone that solved World War III. The way that they talk about Michael Jordan being a great man, like that monologue should have gone in a movie about Oscar Schindler, like someone who actually did something fucking incredible. And I know this is an unpopular argument, especially if this is a Sporty for 40 episode. I know that humanity loves to make icons. They love to make these myths. People want someone to look up to. But it really kind of bugged me. I like Michael Jordan as much as the next guy. Really kind of bugged me to hear him talking about greatness and transcending being a normal human when at the core, he is a person. I don't think he's inherently better than anyone else.
Ugh.
Better at basketball, sure, but it really bothered me the level of glorifying they were doing there. And maybe I can read that as just him being a great marketer and just being a great salesman and trying to get this one athlete to sign this shoe deal. But it grossed me out as much as it impressed me.
I think that's sports, man. Honestly, it's everything. It's everything in our lives, right? To be real nihilist about it, nothing matters. This is all bullshit. It only matters because we think it matters. And we like to think that, he won for the Chicago Bulls. It's like the team of the people, but it's like a private company that like makes a lot of money and probably like is stealing tax dollars from the public to like fund this private company that then the public has to like pay to come see these guys. And these players are like mega rich and they don't care and they probably don't play half the time. When you buy a ticket, you spend $500 on a ticket, you take your son, LeBron sitting on the bench because he needs to rest. Like, like fuck all this. Like it's all dumb. It's all dumb. It doesn't matter. This is like a company, it's like rooting for Chase Bank. Like who cares? It's it's but if you put all that away and you think that, well, I'm from Florida, Miami's pretty, I didn't really grow up in Miami, but Miami's pretty close. And LeBron went there, and I was like, I was a big LeBron fan, and it just like sucked me. And I was watching nothing but Miami Heat, and now I'm like, oh, the Heat are back, baby, and Jimmy Butler's there, and he's the most electric guy I've ever seen, and they came back from a deficit to win. I think both things can happen at the same time, Kevin. Both things can
Yep.
happen at the same time because otherwise you'd be doing that all the time, right? We talk about movies on here. Every movie is
Mhm.
like, well, that's Chris Pratt in front of a green screen. But at a certain point, we all just agree that this is what we're doing. You need that buy-in. Sports need that buy-in, and I think these kinds of speeches are exactly what people love buying into when it comes to sports.
I guess you're right. I think that's a double standard that I was holding with Marvel movies too, where I can absolutely see where Breen, shout out Mike Breen, friend of the show. I can absolutely see where Breen sees these things and he's like, these are fucking garbage. But because I've decided that these movies are important to me, when I hear Captain America make a speech in one of these movies, it moves me. Whereas, yeah, we can play the dollars and cents game all day and talk about horrible moves that people involved with these movies have made.
It's like
As a sports movie, I thought it was still very good.
I thought it was good. I think this thing's watchable, man. It's just like pleasant and watchable, and it's not challenging in any way. It's just like a nice thing to have on. And they're all like pretty good, positive guys who seem to like being together. And they all like everybody wants what's best for everybody else. And it's just very pleasant and positive movie. I mean, there's tension. They're like, are they gonna do it? At some point in the movie, I was like, are they gonna pull this off? And it's like, oh yeah, of course they already did. But I'm like, what if it's like a like Tarantino, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where they're just like, the murderers going to the wrong house, and it's like his alternate ending to this. Like, what if this movie took a dramatic turn and Jordan's like, no, I'm going to Under Armour, and then they go into the history of how that affects the world. Um, that would probably be bad. What they did was definitely better. Ben's great. Matt Damon's great. I was so pumped to see Chris Tucker, dude. Fucking love Chris Tucker. I don't know why he isn't in everything. He's like an automatic, like, 10 off the bench. You throw him in the game, he's just gonna do his thing, his Chris Tucker thing, and it's great and it's fun, and I'm smiling. Like his character is the guy that like butters up the parents and takes care of the kids and like goes out to the club with them and make sure they got everything they need. He's like the pleaser. And he was doing the same thing to me while I was in the audience. I was like, he's giving me exactly what I want. He's telling me everything I want to hear. Chris Tucker's doing his Chris Tucker thing, and I'm here for it. I love it. I need more of him. I need more Chris Tucker around.
It gave a great depiction of how a team like this functions with role players. Made it really appealing that
Yeah,
everybody had their one specific thing. I'm just talking about jobs here, but I feel like it's specialization. The company that I work for is so big that I don't see a lot of people having this one like tight role where they handle all of one aspect of the business. Um, it was really satisfying to see. Yeah, basically, Chris Tucker's like, cool. After we sign you, I got you. You never need to talk to those other guys again. I'm your guy. Like,
yeah.
I'll call you up on a Saturday, see if you want to hit up a park, grab a bite to eat. It's wonderful.
It's exactly the sales funnel, right? Where like I'd be like I was in sales, and I like close the deal and then pass them off to the guy who was like the customer, what do they call it? The customer like relations manager or whatever it was,
Yeah.
like their contact. So Susan's going to be your contact going forward. Chris Tucker's going to be your guy going forward. He's going to be, if you want to go clubbing, you want a limo, you want whatever, you want a car, Chris Tucker's the guy you talk to, or you can call me directly, whatever you want. I also like this movie because we know Ben and Matt are best buds. I heard something recently that Jason Bateman is also like really close with them. And so I'm kind of just picturing that they all are just like hanging out one day and they read Shoe Dog and they're like, guys, let's do something fun. Let's do one for us. And they're just like fucking around on set. I just feel like this feels kind of like buddies got together and did something. And they're like, we'll invite Chris. Chris is a good hang. We'll invite that weird shoe guy who I don't know who he is, Matthew Maurer, and we'll just have a fun time. It seems like just like a chill good time. We'll get Viola Davis to just
Oh,
come crush, do do what Viola Davis does and fucking slaughter. And yeah, and then we won't even show Jordan's face. It'll be easy. Bing bang boom.
first off,
Who's
Viola
gonna play
Davis,
Jordan? Who cares?
it could be anybody. I think that. Do you think that was a smart choice? I like the choice to not show
Yeah,
Jordan.
thought it was a great choice. I thought it was a great choice. You take the burden off of some actor having to look like Jordan, and then you show the clips of Michael Jordan doing his thing, and we know, we get it, we understand. Some of the shots were a little goofy, where there's like, he sits down, there's like a newspaper in front of his face. Like they're doing all kinds of things to obscure his face,
He's
you
just the
know?
next door neighbor from Home Improvement.
It feels like, was there something like that in like I don't know, Austin Powers or something, like move your shoe, and then there's like, there's more and more smaller stuff.
Oh yeah, for he was naked and more things were covering his penis.
Yeah, it
And
felt
then
kind of like that.
they
Like
did
they
in
were just,
Powerpuff Girls too. The aide to the mayor, there was always something blocking her face.
well, yeah. So they probably took that inspiration from the Powderpuff Girls.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think it was a great idea. I think it was a great idea. Kevin, you got any other thieves, or what's your biggest beef? You got a big beef about this thing?
I think the biggest beef I already went through, which was just the fact that I was being sold something the entire time. But we did this in a double feature with the Super Mario Brothers movie, which is also selling you something the entire time. So it was a weird, I think after it was over, I turned to everybody and was like, all right, which of those two commercials did you like more? Just because it felt like the trailers never stopped. I think I knew what I was getting into, though. I knew that I had heard this movie was phenomenal. I think this movie was good. I don't think it's as good as Moneyball, but like we said, it was very watchable and it was very well done, and it did make me I bought Shoe Dog afterwards, so it made me
Yeah.
buy a Nike product immediately after seeing the movie, so I think it was definitely effective, but it does kinda cross into that line where, stage 1 was we had movies, and then stage 2 was we had movies based on IP, and now stage 3 is movies that are IP. The movies are ads for the things. They're not just featuring the things, it's straight up an ad for the thing, and I feel a little bit uneasy about that, but as long as people stay in a zone where they're willing to take some risks with the material and they don't play too safe to the point where it becomes corporate and sterile. The scene at the very end where Matt Damon, they're doing a wrap up on his character. He looks like he's going to start running for the first time. And then he's like, no, fuck this. This sucks. A company that plays it safe would not do that. They'd be too worried about the fact of like, oh, what if people see this and they realize that running sucks and we stop selling shoes? So as long as
Yeah.
they are able to be a little edgy with it, I'm fine. Tim, what did you think?
I guess so. I have a hard time following you to that being edgy. That Matt Damon is overweight and doesn't like to run. I don't know if that's the edgiest thing I've ever seen from a corporation, but um, I
From a
get your
running
point.
corporation? I think it's as edgy as I've ever seen a corporation get.
Yeah, but not, basketball is a huge part of what Nike does now. Probably the thing
Yeah.
Nike does, right? Um, they Yeah, I mean, we've had a string of that, right? Where we've done this, we've done Super Mario, we've done Dungeons and Dragons. I feel
Mhm.
like we've
Yeah.
done other things. I mean, we always talk about Marvel and DC. I mean, these are big like IP things that we're all talking about all the time. To get back to what you were saying about Moneyball and what I said about Moneyball, it's not the same as Moneyball. I feel like The Big Short is another one that I feel like I put in the same category where there's like a rewatchability towards it and it's like pretty quick and it's like generally like positive.
Mhm.
And I, for some reason, I think of Moneyball, The Big Short, like together. And I think it's because they're both also kind of intelligent. And it seems like you're learning something watching them. And there's like a little bit of a mystery and they're uncovering something tonally different. But Spotlight is another one that I find like is one of my favorite movies where you just like it's the acting's great. You could kind of just jump into these scenes. They're uncovering something. It feels like it feels intelligent watching those things. And I wouldn't say that this was necessarily that. It didn't get up to that bar. I think
Mhm.
the closest they got was when they're sitting down and strategizing on how they're going to bring Jordan in and who's going to talk first and all of that. And then eventually they throw it out so Damon could give the big speech. And that was kind of interesting, I thought, actually, was them saying, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, here's how this is going to play out. You're going to show up late because it shows this. I almost would have preferred more of the strategy, designing the shoe and talking about how like this is, you know, why doesn't the shoe look right? Well, we need more red. Well, that's legal. Well, we'll pay the fine. Like those kinds of
Yeah.
logistics I really liked and enjoyed and made me feel smarter. So I wish it did more of that. I don't think it really got to the point of any of those other movies I mentioned where I'm like gonna feel like, you know, challenged or intelligent watching it, you know.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, that's a really good point. They really just glossed over that shoe design scene, and it was one of the best scenes. I definitely could have used more of that.
yeah, they really just came up with this design. They didn't workshop it really. This guy just kind of had it.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know what else they could have done to like workshop it or whatever, but it did seem kind of strange where this guy's like, yeah, I've been sitting on this idea, these souls, and they're going to be magical, and that was great. But also, like, give me some nerd stuff,
Yeah.
give me the nerdy shit. I want to see how the sausage is made, baby. Show me them shoes. They
Make
may
it
or may
like
not be
a
Nikes.
Pierce Brosnan Bond movie where you go into the workshop and Q has, like, stuff getting thrown at the wall and people holding, like, a bulletproof vest, and they're shooting shit at it. I want that with shoes. People with
Exactly.
flamethrowers.
Even the moment when he's gone into all these other interviews, that was actually great. Was Matt Damon says tells Viola Davis's character like exactly what's going to happen in all the other meetings, and they go in and they do exactly what Matt Damon says, and they have all the shoes, and on his they just have one. I'm like, that stuff's great. Like that kind of like the intricacies of that sound are so fun and so great. And maybe there were a lot of these. Honestly, I got to rewatch it as soon as it hits streaming. I'm going to rewatch it. This movie's chill, man. If you just want to have a nice chill time at home, want to watch something with your dad, like turn this on. It's going to be great. People like it.
Big time.
I'm a fan.
Tim,
Man,
thieves. Does that pretty much
thieves.
cover your thieves, or do you have any other specific thieves you wanted to mention?
Chris Tucker's probably my thief. I also feel like Jason Bateman was great. Maybe I just don't see enough Jason Bateman. I feel like I know him from Arrested Development, and then I didn't watch Ozark or anything. And Date Night was great. And I feel like every time I see Jason Bateman, I'm like, oh, this is nice. I like having you around, dude. You seem like a swell guy. And then I don't see him for a couple years. And then he pops in and out of my life, I feel like. But
Yeah, he's
I don't
good.
know. I
I
like
really
seeing
love
him
the
and stuff.
soundtrack.
The soundtrack was a lot of fun. I feel like a little corny, but a lot of fun.
I can see that. There's a few that are a little over the top, but I've been listening to it pretty much nonstop since we saw it, and it's a joy.
I feel like they were too top of mind, if that's my critique. Like, I like how James Gunn makes the playlist and then takes out the songs that are too popular. I feel like Nike kind of went with the hits. There wasn't any song. I feel like I didn't get any of those moments where I was like, oh, yeah, that song. It was just, oh, now they're playing that song. Feels like a big difference, though. Am I wrong?
The ones that they picked were very good. I don't know. I was just happy to hear them. That's my sports movie. 80s songs. I'm just happy to be there.
Do you have them? Do you know what the songs were?
Let me pull it back up. Yeah. Because I know there were a couple that took me off guard. I'm filling time while I pull it up. Sister Christian, great.
Yeah. Money for Nothing, Dire Straits, great. The Stroke, Know It, Blister in the Sun.
Ain't Nobody by Rufus and Shaka Khan. That
See,
song fucking rips, dude.
dude, that's a fucking banger. I actually didn't know about that song until New Girl, I think. And then and then I'm like, that song, Shaka Khan rules. I don't know where Shaka Khan's been my whole life, but she's great.
Amazing. But yeah, it's a great soundtrack. Check it out on Spotify. Support all the big corporations in your life. They
Yeah,
need your
support all the big corporations. Get on Spotify, listen to this podcast. I don't know what else I want to say about this, Kevin. I'm ready to wrap this up.
same here. Let's wrap it up. Did you see the movie Air? Were you bothered by Matt Damon's speech at the end, or did it make you cry? Let us know. Send us an email, nerdy430@gmail.com. That is nerdy spelled out, 4 spelled out, 30 as a number. We will be back here again next week. I do not know what thing we are covering. Will it be Renfield? We'll find out together.
Maybe.
We'll see you then. Until next week, stay nerdy, everybody.
Stay nerdy. Bye.